Hi, y'all. Welcome to GradMissions Office Hours. I'm Autumn, founder and CEO of GradMissions.
Hi, I'm Morgan Hager, and I am client success for our law and med clients.
Hi, I'm Logan Lockhart, and I am working with our med clients.
And I'm really excited today. We have a new friendly face on the pod. Please welcome Lori Stevens. We are so thankful to have her here. She has worked with students for decades. And before that, she was a student. So it's just great to have her along. Lori, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Great. Thanks for the intro and the welcome, Autumn. I'm excited to be here with you all. I've been listening and learning for a few weeks alongside you all. Um, I am working with GradMissions' new application essay institute and helping students hone their story and present their best experiences for their applications and to really tell who they are. And it's such a delight. And so I love doing this. I have worked with students for decades in all areas of resume prep and learning and just preparing for the future. And so I've done a lot of these conversations over the decades, and it's exciting to be on this side of it.
Yeah. Lori is such a writer and she's super humble and like won't tell you that she's such a writer, but she is. Have known Lori for almost 17 years, I guess. Like it's been a long time,
Oh,
which is wild since we're only 21. Like I don't know how
I
that
know,
happened. We met when
right?
we were four on the playground. But you told a story about, I think it was around Christmas time, and you were sort of telling Mary's story, like through your perspective, being pregnant with your son, with
Yeah,
Caskey.
yeah.
And it was so imaginative, like your words. I don't think I've told you this. Like I can still recall like a lot of what you talked about. I had never really thought about the Christmas story that way. It was just beautiful. So yeah, your writing has left an imprint. And so we're excited to have, your creativity and just that unique voice that you bring to help these students who may not see themselves in their personal statement, in their supplemental essays, to help them find their voice.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, sometimes you just need somebody outside your own window, your own viewpoint to help you excavate your story because you don't realize how amazing you are and you don't
Yeah.
realize what they're looking for exactly and how much of that you have within your story. So that's been really fun. But thank you. That's so kind. I don't
Yeah.
remember what I said, so you'll have to fill me in one day.
Yeah, it was just like it's just the human piece of it, that you just think of, I'm not a particularly religious person, but just that story, that you've heard and it's just so flat, but you like breathed life into a character that to me had always been very two-dimensional. And I think that's exactly what you'll do with our students.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Luckily for them, we've got a great framework. So anybody can be a great writer. It's a skill you can learn and yeah, we'll get you there.
That seems like a good segue into our podcast topic for today,
Uh-huh.
which is how early is too early to apply to law and med school? Lori's working on application prep, tools for students to use. So I've been in the thick of it with the med students for this cycle. We've got lots of clients who are finished with their primary applications.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Hooray, we're already, pre-writing secondaries, but we also have some clients who have just hopped on with us. And actually, a couple of weeks ago, I gave a presentation to high school students who think they want to go to med school.
Yeah.
So clearly, we've got a wide range here of timeline for application prep concerns, things like that. Where should we start? Should we start med? Should we start law?
I think let's start med because, our friends in the med space, I feel like their hair is perpetually on fire. I think the earliest I've ever met with a prospective client, she was in the seventh grade. And so Lysanne and I have joked a lot about her, but she's not wrong to start thinking about those pathways now. And I think it is so important to know that wherever you are, you have time. Med school is not going anywhere. Now, does that mean that you can sign on with us in July and you're going to have the smoothest application cycle ever and that you're going to be assured to be in a white coat in August of 2027? No, that's not what that means. Our advice to you may be wait a year, but their med schools are still going to be there. So you can just calm down. I think the ideal time to really start getting your activities and experiences written, drafting on your personal statement, other impactful experience, starting to pre-write secondaries. The ideal time really is probably what? December, January before your application opens in May. What do you think, Logan?
I think that is our clients that are finished with their primaries and already moving into secondaries. That was about the timeline that we
Yeah,
had. I think we really started, maybe we worked on cycle tracker, maybe we jotted down a few ideas about, where to apply or what their activities were, but the real work started in December, January, and it has made for a really comfortable stretch of time here
yeah,
where nobody's panicked, but we're making incremental progress. And there's still time to prep for the MCAT if you're doing that along the same timeline.
that's
I
right.
think that has been a really nice runway for
Yeah.
this cycle.
So what
The other,
happens if they're
sorry.
not, if they didn't start in December and they reach out, they hear this and they're like, oh, I want to be in a white coat in August of 27. Is it too late?
It's not too late, but we have our work cut out for us. And so I would love to have, in fact, I'm having an intensive as soon as we hop off of this with a client who found us last week and was like, oh my gosh, so sorry, I'm late. And I'm like, it's okay, you're not technically late. Um, but to do it the way we prefer, we like to give, Lori will back me up on this. We like to give your essays room to breathe. Like, ideally, we would get your personal statement written. And we're doing that in concert with activities and experiences so that okay, if you have a strategy call with me, you're going to hear this story again, but I'm going to tell you right now. So I like to think of your application as 40 acres of land, right? And so we want to make sure that we are using up all 40 acres of that land. And if we write your activities and experiences and your personal statement in silos or in vacuums, or if you do it last minute with your knuckles white when things are due, sometimes what happens is you end up building a skyscraper when you have 40 acres you should be spreading out on. And what I mean by that is you end up telling very similar stories in your activities and experiences, and your most meaningful, you tell those same stories in your personal statement. And where you've had all these potential places to tether and connect with admissions and scholarship committees, you've just built a skyscraper and they only have one touch point. And so when we're doing our method, the way that Logan is talking about thoughtfully, we're working in concert. There's a team of med editors who are helping you think through your activities and experiences, get your most meaningfuls built out. And then you and I are working in live writers workshops on your personal statement, and we're all checking in with each other. And ideally, we get your personal statement to a final working draft, get your other impactful experience written, and we don't look at it for 3 to 4 weeks. And we're working on activities and experiences. We're pre-writing secondaries. We're doing those kind of things. Then we come back and look at your personal statement with fresh eyes. And what a gift to be able to come back to it. And so there is still time for us to allow that kind of marination, but we might have to put it in an instant pot.
So love that analogy of the Instapot. And I think that's kind of what brought about the essay institute for us, the application essay institute for us was like, we have some great students who find us really late in the game and they think, oh, I really wish I hadn't done this on my own, but I'm at this point. And so there is still some help there through the essay writing assistance through the Application Essay Institute. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, I've done all of that on my own, it's probably not as great as it could have been. Could I get some expert eyes on this real quick before I turn this in May? Yes, that is an opportunity. Whether you want to come on and do the Instapot with us, which we would love to help you marinate through all of the steps of the application and the full 40 acres. Um, or if you've gone on your own on that and you just want some expert eyes to help you fill in some gaps, correct some common pitfalls that we see, things like that, we're here to help there as well.
That's
So
right.
we built that for you.
That's right. You kept asking. You kept asking. And
Yeah.
so we just keep it's like our residency program. Like, we didn't intend to do match, but like here we are. So when our clients are happy with our services and then they want more support, we're trying to find ways to meet you where you are.
I love that. So part of starting early allows you to, whenever you have those activities and experiences, it allows you to go and fill in those holes that we're finding, I think. And so I don't know, Logan, tell us a little bit about how when a student does start early, if you're looking and you're digging into their activities and experiences, what you're looking for and how you can, how that extra time benefits them.
It's the strategy. I think that is what time allows. Now that I've got clients moving into secondary prep, I'm intimately familiar with their activities and experiences because we've been editing them for weeks and, in months in some cases, depending on kind of our work pace and how we're aligning it with the personal statement and things like that. And so now that we're moving in to secondaries, because I'm so familiar with the activities and experiences, I can help them with kind of the story mapping for their secondaries. You only have so many experiences. It's not like you're going to write about entirely new experiences in your secondaries, but we are going to tell different stories from those experiences
Yep.
and give different details or tell it from a different lens. And with time, we can, like a puzzle, kind of put those pieces together to give as much detail as possible. And what Autumn always says is you're writing your interview.
Mhm.
So giving them
Wow.
as many nuggets as possible to ask you about, we're still limited by character, right? I mean, there's 1,000 characters, 1,500 characters. It's not going to be able to say exactly what you want to say, how you want to say it. But if you can give them enough that they're curious and they want to know more, they may ask you about that in an interview, in which
Mhm.
case you can give all the rich detail you wanted to give in your essays. So I think that's what time allows is that kind of strategy to place the pieces where you want to place them. On a shorter timeline, there's still strategy involved, but I think we don't necessarily have the luxury of ruminating on it for days and weeks. I think it's just, you know, we do our best to put it in line as quickly as we can.
Yeah. To go back to that food analogy, it's popping popcorn. Right? Just got to get it out there. I also want to make a quick plug. I think the smartest applicants to med school, especially, are starting right now with us to apply May 2027. That is, to me, the smartest route because we have time to help you map out your activities and experiences, and there's still time to do something about it. If there's a hole that we see, we map everything to those double AMC core competencies. We keep tabs on that. And so we can look, Logan's made this beautiful little formula, and we can look in one quick glance, like a scorecard, and see, like, oh, there's not as much leadership on here. So, like, do you have time to maybe run for an office in the club that you've been involved with? Or do you have time to step up maybe in the research lab where you are and show some leadership experience so that we can tick off those things that we know are the scoring rubrics for application evaluation and for interview rubrics for your final rank score in med school. And if you come to us right now, like, yes, you can have ongoing hours, but it's hard to really move the needle very much. The sooner we can start building, the more time we have to impact and actually put our GradMissions fingerprints on your story.
I'm going to back it up even further. What a dream would it be to work with someone who starts with us their freshman year
Oh man, the
and
dream.
we help curate their application
Yes.
from day one? Good grief.
Yes. Here's the beautiful thing about my curated application experience, and it's the thing that makes my business coaches so angry. But guess what? I'm the boss and I get to do it my way. It's the same price. If you start with us right now to apply in May, or if you start with us as a freshman to apply in May in 3 years, it's the same price. You're locking us in right now to build your application, and we're with you until you're in your white coat. So you can get us for 3 years, or you can get us for 14 months, and it's all the same.
So if you get that freshman, they may not have to do a gap year. If you've
Oh,
got a
yeah. Unless
curated,
they want to.
I mean, unless they want to, for
Yeah.
sure. But if they
Yeah.
don't, you've got them set up hopefully for success. Obviously,
Right.
in the classroom, you've got to be successful, but we
Of
can
course.
we can
But we
guide you
hold you
along the way.
accountable. We're
Yes.
meeting, we're saying, have you been into those math and science professors' office hours? We help you build that relationship so those LORs, letters of recommendation, don't feel transactional. And we're going to remind you, parents, if you're listening to this, it doesn't sound like nagging when we say it. It sounds like accountability. So you could just, you know, just outsource that nagging about when you're taking the MCAT and when you're doing all that.
Logan, you're putting it out there into the universe to start when you're a freshman. I love. I have worked with freshmen for decades. That's my jam. I love those people. It's a really hard transition. So whether you're thinking about these big careers in med or law, whatever it is, there are some things that you can be doing to make this process that we're talking about and going through with our both our law and our med students so much less stressful. And some of it is just, reflection along the way. We've got a team of experts who have also worked through that undergraduate experience. So we've worked with our med and law students when they're in law school, when they're in med school, and after, and celebrated all of those great successes. But we've been there with them when they were 18 and they were trying to figure out what they wanted to do too, and coaching them through what does it look like to really learn how to study? Because I was too smart
Mm.
in high school, I never had to, and so what do I do now in college? When there are some big stakes at the end of this, because I want to be a lawyer, I want to be on the Supreme Court one day. I've got big plans for my life. And so being able to work with students, from that very onset of their college experience, such a dream. So many great opportunities there opened up if you just kind of start from the beginning and start with that end goal in mind. And yeah, you've got some great people around you with a lot of experience in coaching students through that or through that, post high school experience into their grad plans. So very exciting. I love that. I'll just tag on to that. Yeah, yes, let's amplify that. I'd love to see you as a freshman.
It's actually No Child Left Behind.
Love it.
Okay, so we've been yapping about med. Let's talk about law. Where are we on the law cycle right now?
We're seeing the kind of LSAT registration numbers this cycle that indicate another just banner year for applications. And so law schools are rubbing their hands together as they're getting prepared for another giant class. But that means that you have to be extra prepared and ready. So this is not the time, this is not the kind of cycle where you can apply around winter break and have and expect good outcomes. You really have to have your application submitted the first 2 weeks of September. And so, in order to do that well and to have the time to marinate, like we've been talking about, this is the real ideal time to lock in and start building your application.
So tell us a little bit about applications open September 1, and you say this is for law, and you well,
Mhm.
actually I think both of it probably works for both. Applications open, is it in like May 28th or
So,
May
yeah,
5th is when they open for med, and then you
May
can start.
4th for MD, May 5th for DO, and then you can hit submit like May 28th, something like that.
Okay. And then for law, it's open September 1st. Can you hit submit September 1st
Yes.
or okay. So tell us the benefit in submitting early.
Yeah.
How does that help you?
Um, Applications, just like in med school, applications to law school are admitted on a rolling basis. And I have the most number of seats in my class, and I have the most scholarship dollars available early in the cycle. And in law school, it is still a very human driven application. It is in med school too, but there are specific cut points. I've been having conversations this week. If you don't hit the LSAT GPA metrics, you can write the most beautiful essay in the universe, but they're never going to read it. And so, something that I've been saying to our prospective law clients who meet with me, sometimes they're on a budget, right? And they're like, I can only afford either LSAT prep or I can only afford your services. First of all, my question is, how are you paying for law school? So we might need to think about that. So you might need to work and save some money, but put that aside. You have to have your LSAT in the right space. And so getting your GPA locked in is great. Hopefully you're doing that the whole way. Getting your LSAT prepped for, you honestly should have already been studying for the LSAT. Especially if you're planning to take it in June. Even if you're planning to take it in August, you should already be locked in and studying. So hear me say that this is the time to start studying if you want to go to law school this next fall. The things that we are doing early is making a strategic school list, building your application essays, and we're building a strategic school list with scholarship negotiations in March, April in mind. So that is how our law clients get 15 to 23% more in scholarship than the ABA 509 report indicates that they will. It's because we are strategic from day one. And the earlier we start building that strategy, the better your outcomes are going to be. So from a law school admissions person perspective, if I get an applicant, let's say they're a splitter, we work with a lot of splitters. That's someone with a lower GPA, a high LSAT, or vice versa. Let's say I get someone with a really high LSAT and a lower GPA, and they apply in September. A couple of things have happened in my brain, right? So you applied with a low GPA, but you got your stuff together early and you applied. That's making you less of a red flag and more of a yellow flag. Like even if your GPA is very, very low, I'm like, oh, this person has their act together now. That's good. Number two, I can pair you with someone who has a really high GPA and a lower LSAT and admit you both, and you're helping my ranking with US News and you're helping my class median stay high. If you apply in January, February with a lower GPA and a high LSAT, I might not be able to find that match for you, and I have less seats in my class and I have less scholarship dollars.
That's so important. I feel like the earlier the better is what it's sounding like. And then we talked about letters of recommendation earlier, and for law and med, they're both required, correct?
Yes.
So we know that professors typically are not around in the summertime.
Scatter like shrapnel.
So if you do not have that secured letters of recommendation starting now, you probably need to get it done before, May 14th.
Oh yeah, and you can actually go ahead and have your letter writers submit their letters of rec into LSAC. The same LSAC account that you use to register for your LSAT, you have an application kind of profile. Those letter writers can submit them now. I love getting letters of recommendation submitted before finals and before May. The earlier the better, because it does get very hard, especially if it's an academic LOR. People are not on campus. They're, bashing about Europe, doing scholarly work, and so it's hard to get a hold of them.
They probably appreciate it too and might write a letter
Yes,
rather.
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, we had a student, or we had a prospective client reach out this week and say, like, when is it too early, or when should I ask my letter writers to write a letter? And they're delaying working with us, which I get. That's fine. Okay, that's your choice. But they were like, I'm going to ask them for the letters. And the thing is, to get a really strong letter of rec, you need to send them your personal statement. You need to send them your perspective statement. You need to send them your resume. They need to know what they're co-signing rather than just like writing generally about you. It is so much more helpful when you've built your application already and can send it tied up in a neat little bow. Again, it makes you look like you have your act together, because guess what? You do. When you have your act together, then you're going to get a stronger letter of recommendation.
I love that. And I think in addition to having all of your letters done, your personal statement done, your perspective statement, it also gives you time to work on those supplemental essays and secondary
Yep.
essays that they vary by schools and the subjects vary. And so why not give yourself extra time for all of this?
For all of that. Yeah, because chances are you're either still in school, so you want to be able to enjoy your senior year. I always like to say work with us, and then you can actually enjoy tailgate season if you're a football person, right? Like you can enjoy your last hoorah as a senior. If you're not still in school, you're probably working, you're probably trying to spend time with your family and all of these things before you lock in for 3 years of law school. And so why not give yourself that benefit of starting this process early? And again, it's the same price if you start working with us now or if you start working with us in September, October. It's the same price, except your chances are better of getting admitted because we've built something beautiful and you can apply September 1.
More time just to me sounds like less stress and better
Yep.
execution on the process.
That's right. That's right. And on the law side of things, we're here with you until orientation. So, a lot of what we're doing right now with our clients is scholarship negotiation. And in fact, Morgan, I emailed you last night. Like, I have a client. She's trying to decide between 4 or 5 different law schools. They all offer something a little bit different. You've kind of got that career services, firm recruiting mindset, and so you're going to meet with her and go over the things that we would recommend you be thinking about. You obviously have your personal values that you're trying to evaluate, if you want to live in a city, if you want to live more rurally, but we're going to be able to help you layer in those expert things that matter beyond just US News ranking.
Good podcast episode today, everyone. I think it's probably about time we turn the lights off in the podcast loft, but we hope to see everybody over on our socials at GradMissions, @_GradMissions. And let's get a strategy call in the books.
Yeah, Let's do it. All right. We're going to turn off the lights here, but we're always on socials, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.
Bye.